Okay, so good evening, guys. Um, Now I'm starting to hear that people who were on the side of the junior hockey team owners are starting to backtrack a little bit because they did not realize that private Canadian owned and controlled corporations, which are corporations that do not sell stock on the stock market, nor do they have foreign investors. So everybody who owns that corporation, that private corporation, that does not sell stock on the stock market, are Canadian citizens. Those types of corporations pay less on their income tax, pay less on their revenues, their income. So this brings us to the question, right? These junior hockey teams, um, and some of them are pretty big. They're almost like farm, like junior A baseball teams or whatever. Not they occupy stadiums. They sell like ads all over the stadium. They're broadcasted up here in Canada, nationwide. Like they got a TV market, right? Should they, if they get a tax credit, tax break is a tax credit. They get a tax break on their revenue because they're Canadian. They meet these requirements. All their owners are Canadian citizens, and they don't sell stock on the stock market. Their revenue is taxed less at a lower rate. Should they have just paid some of those junior hockey players? Because the whole situation now is that if you play for example, the NCAA hockey or something, and if they play half the number of games, but you can still make it to the NHL. Whereas in the league in Canada, the Canadian Hockey League, which will bring us to NAFTA, the Canadian Hockey League, they play double the amount of games on the road and everything, and it's it leaves little time to study. On top of that, I don't know. I was watching that interview by the NFL guy. He's saying what it was like in school was like, I got my scholarship, which paid for sort of like room and board, like in terms of cash. They gave me cash, but it went towards room and board and maybe clothing and whatever, right? I didn't have much, like you wouldn't have much chance to party unless you got like free beer, but seriously, and then you miss the game and you don't study and all that stuff, right? But it still sounds like it was a real university life, collegiate life, varsity life. And then so which brings us to NAFTA, because up here the Junior Hockey League, this one in particular, Canadian Hockey League, has teams in America. If you Google it, there's teams in like Detroit or something. There's teams in like Washington State. There's teams, just along the border, those states. And what happened was, whether or not to pay these junior hockey players, the decision, the president, the case, which I actually set in the U.S. So because of the court ruling in the U.S., they're using that, the team owners using that to defend their case up in Canada. And yet, do you guys have this tax break for these teams in the U.S.? Like, are these teams in the U.S., like, if they're not given those same tax breaks, they might really be like really poor teams. But if they're given these tax breaks and all these government support and all this, and so the relationship between this league up in Canada and its team owners in the U.S. is the type of relationship that's going to define, so like the American corporation and its employees. And yet up in Canada, You know, up in Canada, we get child benefits, we get total universal health care, even cancer treatments. We get all these things. Are you ready to be treated like a Canadian by your American corporation? Guess what? All right? NAFTA is not a marriage. Okay? It's more like high school. After 5 years, I want to do something with my degree. All right? I don't want to stick around. You don't need like eternity. All right? I mean, last minute, all these changes, 40 billion for 10 billion for subsidized housing, cleaning up the environment, last minute. If you stretch NAFTA out to eternity, it'll be last minute of an eternity, which never will happen. All right? You're all about homeland security, diversity, not blaming affirmative action. In fact, what happened in Vancouver on the film set is a spit in the face of the NBCC. I kid you not. It's like the NBCC came here and I spat it in the face, is what happened on the film set of Deadpool 2. I shit you not.